Hi, this is Matt McIntosh, and I'm going to put together a couple of videos just to show you how you can go about using 3D Studio Max if you're a total beginner with this package. So once you open it, things can look quite daunting. I'm not going to go over all of these buttons and what they do, like some videos do, where it takes like 40 minutes to get through simple functions. The idea behind these videos is that they're going to be short and to the point. So to get started, what I'm going to do is just say, if you look at the side panel here where the primitives are, click on one of them. I'm just going to make use of a box, and you can draw out a shape in any of these four windows. So I'm just going to draw it in the top view, and you can see that I've got a box. Now you can create things from those primitives quite easily. If you want to edit them, you can change their dimensions here and how many spans they've got, which can be quite useful, but I'm just going to use the box as an example. So how do you go about moving around the environment? So I'm going to use this perspective window. Now it's up to you whether you want to work with all four panes. I'm just going to switch it to the perspective view. So to do that, I'm going to click in the perspective view with the right mouse button, and then I'm going to click on this maximize viewport toggle. And what that will do is just make the window the main kind of focus. So if I want to move around this object, how do I go about doing that? Well, first off, I'm going to use the rotate tool to kind of go around the object. So all I'm doing with that is pressing the middle mouse button and the Alt key, and that allows me to rotate around the model. Now you also have a lot of the functionality that I'm going to show you in a second on the icons down at the bottom here. So just next to that toggle, we've got a rotation around your object. We've got the pan feature, which is just if you hold the middle mouse button and move it around, you can see that that's panning around the scene. And then next to that, we've got the zoom feature, which is called field of view. And if I press the Control and Alt key and the middle mouse button, we can see that that zooms in and out on the object that I've got selected. So that's how you can kind of rotate, pan and zoom in and out on your object. But what if you want to actually change its positions? Well, we've got these three tools up at the top. So we've got move, which allows you to move your object, and I'm just using the kind of specific X, Y and Z axis to move those things around. But if you look at this, where you've got a little square appearing between X and Y, or X and Z, or Y and Z, if you hover over that little area so that it becomes highlighted like such, what it allows you to do is move your object in both of those axes at the same time. So if you're wanting to kind of control how it's moving, or just dictate that it's in one direction, you can click on these arrows and it will allow you to move things around in that way. Now, for the move tool, it is actually mapped to the W key on your keyboard. So that's a way of selecting that really quite quickly. Next to it though, we've got the rotate tool, and that is also mapped to the E key on your keyboard. And again, it allows you to rotate your object. And as you can see, it gives you the options in a sphere rather than, arrows. So again, select the axis that you want it to work in, and that will allow you to move it in either just one specific or a number at the same time. And then next to that one, we've got the scale tool. So that is mapped to the R key on your keyboard, and that allows you to scale your object in a specific axis, like so. So by using a combination of those things, you can start to move your object around. you can rotate it, you can scale it. But what if you want a little bit more control over that? Because I'm doing that freeform. Well, if you press F12 on your keyboard, what will come up is this transform type in tool. Now at the moment, because I've got scale selected, it's the scale transform type. So if I was to put in move, it changes to that. And what this allows you to do is control where the positionings of things are through the X, Y, and Z coordinates. So every object that you've got in 3D space has coordinates that dictate where that object's going to be placed. So if I want to change that, all I need to do is select the coordinates that I want to change, and I'm going to change it back to 0 on all three. And what it's done is it's popped it back to the origin of the grid, which is quite useful for when you start using game engines and things like that. So I can do that with the rotation as well. And you can see that it doesn't always quite zero off, so just, you know, re-enter values if you need to. And then finally I've got the scale tool, which I've just zeroed off, and I shouldn't have really done that, but I'll just Control Z, which is a really important feature if you just want to kind of undo what you've done before. So also, if you're kind of using the undo feature, we've got that element here as well, the undo scene operation. Okay, so what else are you going to need for basic control of your objects? Well, you might want to control how far something moves. So you could potentially make use of the snapping tools. Now, if you right click on this object or on this icon, the default is in grid points. We don't want that. We want it as vertex. And what that means is that when you turn this on, I'm just going to create another object and I'll move this. What that means is that when you've got vertex selected, if you hover over one of them, you'll see that a little cross appears. Now, when I grab my object and move it, you can snap it to specific vertices, and it will make it useful for kind of connecting up things. Now, if you're doing low poly editing, that is a really useful tool. So the snapping tool can be quite effective. Next to it, we've also got the angle snapping tool. And what this is for the rotation. And it just means that rather than it being, I don't know, 10 point something degrees, you can dictate that you want it to change at a specific angle. So we could change it from 5 degrees every snap to 45 degrees every snap, which again can be really useful in just lining objects up. And as you can see, it goes round at 45 degrees. Okay. Another and probably the final thing in this video is the mirror tool. So if you've got an object selected and you want to kind of flip it in a different direction, you can click on the mirror feature, which is just here, and you can tell it which axis you want it to mirror to, or you could tell it that you want a copy of it. And at the moment, there's not much of a difference there. But if I was to change the positioning of where the pivot point was, we would see that it could flip out into a different direction, and it gives you a mirror image. Now this can be really useful if you're making a character and you just want to flip geometry to the other side of the body to minimize the amount of time that you're modeling something. Okay, so there's quite a lot of information in that first video, but I'm going to leave it there. If you are wanting to kind of develop your understanding of 3ds Max, make sure you check out the next few videos as well. Thanks for watching.